underlying angle of limiting the monopoly and thus keeping the engine alive, we have the fair use doctrine. So in India, the fair use provision works in a certain way, and we could better call it a fair dealing provision for that reason, which is that there are enumerated exceptions in section 52 to the copyright monopoly. This structure is different from the structure followed in the United States, where, though yes, of course, there are some enumerations, the way the fair use test works is through a four-pronged factor-based analysis, and the four factors are pretty common, and we will get to them soon. So the fact that we follow this enumeration model does not necessarily mean that we value free speech less. In fact, courts have used the different enumerations from time to time to build on the story that we have thus far narrated, that of copyright being an engine of free expression. For instance, let's take section 52(1)(a)(2). This provision exempts from the purview of copyright infringement any fair dealing with a work for the purposes of criticism or review of that particular work or any other work. This provision came into play in Civic Chandran versus Ammaniyamma, a case where there was a counter drama produced 40 years subsequent to the original drama, and the allegation was that the counter drama violated the copyright in the original. The court said that indeed the provision used the expression fair dealing, but fair dealing had to be assessed based on not just the quantum of the work that is copied, but also other factors such as the purpose for which such copying took place, and most importantly, whether the subsequent work was a rival to the earlier work, or it was in a genuine sense a criticism or a review of that earlier work. Applying this particular test, the court concluded that there was indeed a fair dealing, though there was quite a bit of reproduction of the original, because the later work never intended to compete or replace or substitute the earlier work. It was a genuine criticism. Now you can clearly see how important this provision is to preserve free speech values underlying copyright law. Though there is a monopoly here in respect of the original work, we still give room to someone to create orthogonal works that criticize them, that review them, or as we will now see with 52(1)(a)(3), works that report certain events and affairs, including the reporting of a lecture delivered in public. Here we can quickly look at the decision in Delhi TV Limited versus ICC. In Delhi TV Limited versus ICC, the court made a clear distinction between programs that are created for pure commercial purposes and those that are meant to report the happening of an event to the public. The court said that while the former required a license from the owner of copyright in the sporting events in question here, cricketing events being the subject matter of this particular dispute, when it came to reporting live scores and so on, there was no requirement of a license. They could take video footages and put it as part of the general news program. There was nothing wrong with that. But news channels could not run a program which was based entirely on some of these cricket matches and have advertising slots and make money out of that. Basically run commercial programs that could substitute for the watching of the match or its highlights by the spectator or by the audience. So through this, the law again makes it clear that there is a free speech interest in getting to know what goes on. And news and reporting are important dimensions to this free speech interest. Similarly, in Acquaint Internet Services, the court has rejected the argument of the cricketing body BCCI and ICC that they have exclusive monopoly over the scores of a cricket match as conveyed live or immediately after the event has occurred, what they claimed to be a hot news protection. Even here, the court made it clear that granting a monopoly over hot news or the live scores would result in curbing the dissemination of information to the public at large. It was important that the public got access to these live scores not only through licensed providers of BCCI or ICC or whichever other body, but through any other person as well. So if somebody wanted to do this as a commercial operator at lesser charges, there was nothing wrong with it, because indirectly the benefit would go to the public. There are many more ways in which they get to know what is going on, and nobody can claim a monopoly using copyright law or any other property regime over these uses of information. Finally, we come to that part of the fair use doctrine which deals with the teaching exceptions. Till now, we were operating in the realm of looking at exceptions that made use of the content for a specific purpose, whether it's criticism, review, reporting, etc. In some situations, you make use of the content without transforming it at all. And the most important of such exceptions is teaching purposes. The provisions involved here, such as section 52(1)(I) and 52(1)(A)(1) and 52(1)(A)(J, ensure that works can be reproduced for instructional purposes. Of course, there is considerable controversy relating to whether these provisions, especially 52(1)(I), are bound by a fair dealing requirement, or whether there can be indiscriminate reproduction. This is a matter currently pending before the Delhi High Court in the context of the Delhi university photocopying case, and we will not know the answer till the court decides one way or the other. But having said that, the provision serves a very important free speech value. So through a joint reading of all these different provisions in section 52 and the different copyright doctrines, it emerges that copyright law is not just about monopolies, it's also about access. And most importantly, it is about access of a certain kind, the kind that serves the expressive function of the law, the kind that results in more works being created and more people able to use existing works to create new works and communicate through such speech acts, to use the Kantian expression, to a larger audience. So today it is incorrect to say that copyright serves only the incentives function, or that copyright is nothing but property absolutism or property essentialism. There is a strong democratic paradigm operating here. With that, let us quickly proceed to the less important aspect of this lecture, the free speech values in tension with trademark.